start of the COVID-19 pandemic, mandatory mask wearing on EU flights and in EU airports is set to end next week. The European Union Aviation Safety Agency and the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control confirmed the rules change in a joint statement this morning. We can find out more now from Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine. Good afternoon, Eoghan, and thanks for joining us on the programme. So what precisely has been decided in relation to this, and what difference is it going to mean for air passengers from next week?
It's going to mean a big difference, but it's, as you say, two European agencies have brought this in. It now comes back to airlines and it now comes back to destinations. We'll probably see a slower movement from destinations and airlines, but they have been given the all clear, as you say, by two key European agencies, one of them collating the health data and the other looking after the aviation regulations.
So do we know at this stage what is the disposition of European airlines and European airports? They won't have to require mask wearing, but will they continue to do so, do we know?
We don't know for certain, but certainly some airlines have already moved. People like Brussels Airlines have already dropped the mask mandate, Finnair, and that is dependent on the destination you're flying to. One of the things that is in the detail from this morning's announcement is that they expect countries where masks are still required on public transport to keep the mandate that if you're flying into those countries, you still will be required to wear a mask flying to those countries. There are very few of those left. There's Finland, Germany and a couple of others. Most countries have dropped them around April 2021 and over the last 10 days. So I would see a lot of activity between now and Monday. And on Monday, it will be pretty clear what countries we can fly to without masks. Aer Lingus are waiting for some clarification from the Irish government because obviously the Irish aviation authorities have to follow the European line on this.
Well, I suppose in theory you could find yourself in a situation where you're on a flight where mask wearing isn't required because the airline has decided to take this opportunity to remove the mandate, but you arrive at an airport where you have to put the mask on.
Pretty much, the airlines are following that. If the country you're flying to requires a mask, you're still required to wear a mask. There's a lot of movement on this. Transatlantic flights are a very good example. Most of the airlines still require the mask, even though internal flights within the USA do not require masks. I would imagine by Monday mask wearing will be gone because the speed at which different European countries have dropped mask wearing, the airlines will respond to that. Some individual airlines will be consulting their staff as well to see what risks are involved with the dropping of the requirement of masks.
Yeah, exactly. Staff would presumably have a keen interest in this. But the airlines right through the pandemic have been making the argument, haven't they, Eoghan, that actually the air in circulation on an aircraft is some of the cleanest that you'll find anywhere because of the systems that are in place to provide ventilation.
Absolutely. HEPA filters have been key to the case that the airlines have been making because there was, very early in the pandemic, there was attempts to reduce flights, and in some countries they were effectively banned, airspace closed, not so much in European countries but in other parts of the world. Aviation industry not just have to keep their passengers safe, they also have cabin crew which are flying all day long, dealing with passengers all day long. So it was in their interest and they were very anxious to create a safe environment for them, and that will not have changed by any of the news that's breaking this morning.
And Eoghan, when you reach your holiday destination this summer, if you are managing to get away, what are you going to find in terms of remaining COVID restrictions in some of the most popular destinations?
The popular destinations, the key week was around the week after Easter, when Spain and Portugal both removed masks. The locator forms that we all got used to flying during the most European countries have dropped them. France is one of the remaining ones that requires it. And the masking outdoors, which was kept for a long time after we kept our masking outdoors, was followed very quickly by the dropping of the mandate for wearing masks indoors. There are also, though, key local restrictions at different stages during the pandemic. We had, for instance, different regulations in Tenerife than in Gran Canaria, and these can change pretty quickly. So while it does look like masking is gone from most of Europe, do keep an eye on the local restrictions, and the Reopen EU app is really the one which collates the government information and is pretty quick. If things change quickly, it's the source that you'll get most of your information. But the real problem is there's still a fair bit of confusion. It does go country by country, and in many countries it goes by municipality or local authority by local authority.
Yeah, but you think for the most part the locator forms will go, but will you still be required to show your digital COVID cert?
Absolutely, keep that digital COVID cert there, and remember that if you haven't been vaccinated, you are still required. Spain is our biggest holiday destination by a long distance. You're still required to fill out a locator form if you're not vaccinated. There will be also issues with the expiry of the booster or the expiry of the second vaccine. That's a 9-month sell-by date and that. So all of that hasn't gone away, and it's really important to keep that digital COVID cert. It's not really at immigration that most of the problems have arisen. It's at the boarding gate where people have been denied boarding. It's not an epidemiologist that's going to be inspecting your papers. It's going to be an airline staff.
There's the thought. Eoghan Corry from Air and Travel magazine. Thanks indeed for that.